19-story Bronx high-rise, home to a large community of immigrants from Gambia and West Africa. Now, these families have to figure out moving forward how to piece their lives back together following such a tragedy. Governor Hochul says she will make sure that the victims get the help they so need. Take a listen.
When I prepare my budget this week, I'm going to establish a victims' compensation fund for the individuals I just sat with and said, I will not forget you. There'll be money to help them find new housing, for burial costs, for whatever they need. We'll take care of them, because that's what we do here in the state of New York. We are here for the Bronx, and we're here for anyone who needs us.
Senator Chuck Schumer and Congressman Ritchie Torres are also pledging to do whatever they can to get federal assistance for the fire victims. Congressman Ritchie Torres joins us live this morning to share more on what that federal aid will look like. Good morning, Congressman Torres. Thanks again so much for being with us.
I wish I was here under better circumstances, but
yeah, it's been a really rough morning for everyone to really take all of this in. Fordham Heights, though, it's part of your district. So were you able to meet with some of the families that were affected by this fire?
I spent most of the day near Twin Parks Northwest. There was a local middle school that served as a service center for the residents, and we were able to arrange for those who have been displaced to stay at hotels here in the Bronx locally. In the short term, we hope that most of the families will have the ability to return home as quickly as possible. Those living on the third floor, where most of the damage was sustained, are going to be displaced for the long run and will require permanent housing.
So I want to get to some of the things you said yesterday in an interview, because there's been some confusion this morning, right, over this building. You criticized low-income buildings in your district plagued by problems which have been overlooked for decades. You were always out there on the front lines talking about this, but it's separate from NYCHA, which you've also criticized, right? So can the federal government intervene and address some of these issues, like those self-closing doors that may or may not have been here in these kind of buildings?
The federal government has jurisdiction. The federal government could require, as a condition of receiving federal funding, that all housing developments must comply with 21st century standards of fire safety, whether it includes sprinkler systems in buildings, functioning alarm, smoke alarm and fire alarm systems, self-closing doors, safety knobs on stoves. There are many housing developments in the Bronx and elsewhere in the city that lack what I would consider modern standards of fire safety. Those buildings put tenants at risk.
Yeah, and despite the fact that it's a state-run building, you had said to us earlier today that it does have to follow city fire codes.
My understanding is that even if it's federally and state regulated, all housing developments in New York City are subject to the fire code and the building code. These doors were supposed to be self-closing. And even though these doors were supposed to be self-closing, both the apartment door and the stairwell door were left wide open, causing the smoke to spread widely and rapidly throughout the building. Most of the tenants died not from the fire directly, from severe smoke inhalation.
And because the stairwells acted like chimneys. But I hear some, there's been a lot of confusion around this very issue, and that's frustrating, right, for so many people, because it seems like almost like a bureaucratic problem, and I can't believe we're even saying that in such a tragedy here. So how do we make this more clear, right? What's the oversight to make sure that these things are in place?
We have to ensure that the fire department and the buildings department and the housing department are holding landlords accountable for complying with these fire standards. It is critical that these doors are self-closing, but the burden not only falls on the landlords, but also tenants. The fire originated from a malfunctioning space heater. Well, the second most common type of fire is heating fires. Most heating fire deaths involve the use of space heaters. According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, there are 25,000 fires associated with the use of space heaters every single year.
Wow.
So we encourage people to either be careful with the use of space heaters, or I would recommend avoiding them altogether. Second, in the event of a fire, you as a tenant have a responsibility to close the door. Closing the door means preventing the spread of the fire, because if the fire and smoke conditions are left to spread, lives will be lost.
Yeah, but then it goes back to maintenance of those buildings again, to make sure that their heating units do work. Switching gears a little bit, we heard Governor Hochul say that she would earmark part of her budget for a victims' compensation fund, but that's a little further down the line. What kind of help can the federal government, though, offer these victims right now? Because they need it right now.
Well, I will collaborate closely with Senator Schumer to reach out to FEMA, but the most immediate impact will come from the mayor's fund. So the mayor's office has established a fund specifically for the victims of the fire at Twin Parks Northwest. And if you're a New Yorker who can afford to donate, I would encourage you to do so because the families of the Bronx desperately need your support in their moment of greatest tragedy.
And we know from what you said a little bit earlier that this is such a tight-knit immigrant community, specifically in this building and this neighborhood, right? And there are concerns right now about immigration status, which may prevent people from seeking help that they need and some of that funds that you're talking about. So are there protections in place right now, Congressman, that will help and prevent these victims from being deported or that fear of being reported to ICE?
We will provide services to every single resident, regardless of immigration status, period. None of these tenants are going to be at risk of deportation. Our goal is to protect them, not to endanger them. Their well-being is our highest priority. And we want these families to return to their homes as quickly as possible.
All right. Well, Congressman Ritchie Torres, I appreciate you being here this morning. I know you'll be there later on this morning on the scene, and of course we'll be following you along throughout the day. But thank you again for being here.
Take care.